Hey everybody, welcome back to the Manny and Sean experience. I am Sean.
And I am Manny.
And this is episode 78.
Yes.
Sure. On today's episode, we have a very special guest, Dr. Ackerman. He is here to tell us all about Together for Sharon. It is a website, a book, a movement on Parkinson disease. And we are talking to him in the mixtape.
You're in the mix.
Hey there, welcome to the mixtape. Before we welcome our special guest, we want to tell you a little bit about him. Dr. George Ackerman, who is originally from Brooklyn, New York, now residing in Florida, works in the field of law and education. George lost his mother, Sharon Ackerman, on January 1st, 2020, due to Parkinson's disease. George wanted to honor his mother and continue to help in the Parkinson's awareness cause and did not know how to bring change. With his family's help, they started Together for Sharon as a family for the purpose of keeping his mother's memory alive and to share the message of Parkinson's awareness and hope for a cure.
Today, TogetherForSharing.com reaches thousands of individuals across the country for PD awareness, Parkinson's disease. George currently interviews individuals throughout the Parkinson's community, including various foundations, caregivers, and Parkinson's warriors to help share their stories and causes.
So, Manny and Sean experienced listeners and watchers, let us welcome Dr.
Ackerman.
All right. Thanks again for coming. I don't know if I think I'd shared that my grandma passed away from Parkinson's, I think like 30 years ago. So definitely saw my mom struggle through trying to learn how to help my grandma during that time and being a good caretaker for her, especially because she lived over here and my grandma was in Puerto Rico at the time. So kind of good to know about your story and just being able to relate that there's other people out there going out through the same things that we kind of went through so long ago.
Sorry to hear about the loss, but we send our love and support. You're never alone.
Yeah,
exactly. So, Dr. Ackerman, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, a little about the missions and goals of Together for Sharon, and a little bit about your mom?
Yeah, and again, I just want to say I'm grateful for your time and your work. It means the world to me. This is not just about a conversation. I feel like it has to continue on beyond our talk today, because until we find a cure, I don't want anyone to have to go through you or our family past with Parkinson's. My background, I've always been an advocate. I worked as a police officer and a lawyer, did my PhD in criminal justice, but I always fought for victims of crime, specifically African American mothers who lost their loved ones due to murder in West Palm Beach, Florida. A lot of the time, unfortunately, you lose a loved one, not you, but some of the victims. But then the family members also become victims, secondary victims. So I've always fought for the victims and family members so they're never forgotten by the criminal justice system. And it kind of shifted my focus when my mother struggled with Parkinson's. And that's when I became that journey of Parkinson's caregiver, but today advocate. So I guess I've been advocating my whole life, just different areas. But again, it's I don't want anyone to ever feel alone, and that's why I'm here today. So grateful for both of you, because we even reached one person today. We've changed the world for the better. And then I feel like if we had more people involved and aware, we'd be closer to it.
I couldn't agree with that statement more.
Yeah. So, just to bring awareness to Parkinson's, what are some of the most, in your experience, what are the biggest misconceptions of Parkinson's disease? Because, like you stated, I don't know that it's talked as often like maybe cancer or heart disease. So, what are some of those key elements or misconceptions that come along with Parkinson's disease?
Yeah, one of the main ones is it's thought of as an elderly man disease, but that's not true at all. We also have young onset. If you know the famous actor Michael J. Fox, he had in his 30s. He still struggles today. He's actually one of my heroes, one of the biggest advocates for finding a cure. I met him a few times just recently, a few weeks ago in New York City at the Unity Walk. So once a year in Central Park, and everyone comes together to walk in memory of those who lost, those battling, and caregivers too. But he's not doing it, which is kind of frightening because they've raised over 2 billion, not 2 million, $2 billion for Parkinson's disease awareness and hope for cure. He's struggling, kind of tough, you know. Like you, so excited to be with him, but then at the same time, kind of breaks my heart. We've been getting a lot more celebrities involved. I've been able to meet with Katie Couric. I interviewed Muhammad Ali and his daughters. I don't know if you know Kenny G, the famous saxophone player. He
Yes.
played a song and did a message for my mother on our website. And also Jack Osborne, Ozzy Osbourne's son, also
Mhm.
has a message. So unfortunately, it's growing. I don't know if it's because of my advocacy or that it's the fastest growing neurodegenerative disease in the world. About 1 million people in the U.S. have it, 10 million throughout the rest of the world. I always say Parkinson's doesn't discriminate. And I learned 2 years ago that it's not just about me and my mother, it's about everybody. So I've interviewed 600 people from all over the world: England, France, Spain, Africa, Nova Scotia, even Australia. And I was kind of shocked that so many people are battling this, but when you are able to read the stories and see other people's inspiring journeys, it's what motivates me to keep fighting. And I even look to offer you to share your journey someday. Everything is completely free. I don't accept donations. I just accept that no one's alone in this fight. And you have a story too, and so many people. And I only say or I would say, the only journey that breaks my heart is the one that I'm not.
Right. Yeah, I saw you recently when you met Michael J. Fox. You exchanged the bands that you have in memory of your mom. So I thought that was really special moment, and not only awareness, but just being able to share that with him. I'm sure I saw him put it on and everything in a picture online.
It's funny because I met him, and like I said, it was like incredible, but at the same time tough to see him like that. And it
Yeah.
like flashed by my eyes. I didn't realize. So they gave me the picture. I went on my day. But I saw somebody texted me and said, "George, do you see this picture?" And it was like thousands of other people who met him, but he had the band on. So it was like amazing feeling knowing that he had it. He had trouble putting it on, but this is the band. We don't do it much anymore. Just as a memory. My mother Sharon for Parkinson's awareness and together for Sharon.com. The bracelet's an interesting story, or the band. My mother passed really out of nowhere at age 69, which I think is way too young. She had no medical issues but Parkinson's, and if we get into it, I can explain the signs. But we didn't know she was going to pass, so I thought maybe we should do something for the people who come to the funeral. It was so shocking, last minute. So my wife and I, why don't we make this little band? I thought I'd have like 5 people with it, and that would be it. Well, there ended up being like 60 people who came to support us. I gave a speech, which was one of the hardest I've ever given in my life. I don't even know how I got through. It's online somewhere. But so when we left, now he's my brother-in-law, but he took a picture of Pam and the band without his face. So it kind of gave me a little pop in the head, like think about this is like amazing. Why don't I put it on and go to different places around wherever I go every day, like the supermarket, the basketball court, even Disney World, and just show that my mother's still with me. So I started doing that. I don't know how, but it went viral. Even Willie Geist, the famous NBA broadcaster's wife, wore one, and it was like we were sending them for free around the country. And I had to stop because it cost a lot of money. But I mean, we had like literal people sending me photos online and tagging us on every social media with the band and the hand. It was incredible because people were so innovative and just like they were at the beach, they were at a basketball sports game, they were at like family events. It just showed the power of social media for once for good. But the people were really going to remember my, and we still pass them out for free at events, but stopped mailing them just because of the cost. But that was incredible to see it go viral.
That's awesome. I think Michael J. Fox, especially for me, because I remember, seeing him since he was in Back to the Future, and just to see the decline over the years, and how much of an advocate he is for Parkinson's. Like, I've learned a lot through him, and I think the rest of the world has also seen his decline, but also see that he continues to do interviews and push through and wants to make sure that people are aware of Parkinson's. So that's awesome.
He's a hero to me because he could have done what many do, and I don't blame him, but just kind of live privately and just live out. He didn't do that. He chose to fight back, and that's the same as someone, unfortunately, like me, who lost a loved one to Parkinson's. As you probably are aware, a lot of time you just have to kind of move on and get back to life because you're not really aware, sure, there's anything to do. So actually, my first book called The Journey, A Son's Journey, dedicated my mother's memory for everyone battling Parkinson's families. But I have a follow book I finished, which is going to take some time to publish. That's going to be a memory of all those we've lost due to Parkinson's and the families who still live with their memory and don't want it to be forgotten. And that's important to me because I don't have Parkinson's, no longer a caretaker of someone living with Parkinson's. I find myself sadly some days alone, still out there. My mother passed 4 years ago, but I'm still grieving. She was my best friend, and the cover of our book that just came out a few weeks ago. I don't know if you can see, but it's actually a picture of my mother and I, and it's during the son-mother dance at my wedding. And that was my favorite time and memory ever because in that moment, the 3 minutes, she didn't have Parkinson's. It didn't matter. We just laughed and talked and giggled, and that's the memory I want her to be remembered for. But even talking about 10 days is still not easy because what Parkinson's is you again, unfortunately, now can do to somebody. So we have to just keep the good memories. If Parkinson's might take our loved ones or harm them in deteriorating ways, they can never take memories from.
Right. What would you say are the most pressing needs in terms of research and advocacy for Parkinson's?
I didn't know, again, unfortunately, you're affected by Parkinson's, but my goal is to come on incredible shows like yours. And I want everyone out there to support the Manny and Sean show and share. We're going to add this to my website forever, and I'll share it around the world because it's very important that I reach people who do not have Parkinson's and people who aren't aware. Because I feel if we don't bring everyone together in a team, a family, we're going to be further from each other. So that's very important to me. They have made some good advances. Unfortunately, it's too late for our families. One is a special biomarker that was developed last year through the Michael J. Fox Foundation. It's a harmful needle in your spine, which I don't think many people would want, but it might be able to determine if you have Parkinson's. And that's important because it helps with misdiagnosis, with late diagnosis, and really just diagnosis. There's no cure right now for Parkinson's because every person is so different. My mother also had late onset dementia, which brought a battery of other problems like hallucinations and delusions. Not everybody's going to have late onset dementia and Parkinson's. So right now there's no test to even know if you have Parkinson's except for that new one. So basically now the individual goes to a motor specialist, neurologist. They have to get better tests, but those are for other diseases. And then it's kind of, if you don't have those, then you have Parkinson's. So it's not very accurate, and that's a problem. Because if you're given the wrong diagnosis and wrong medicine, that's going to cause major harm and damage. So we need a better way. They do want to take this needle in the spine and turn it into a minor needle like every doctor's office has for blood tests. and that would change the world for everyone, whether diagnosed or not. Also, they don't know why someone gets Parkinson's. They don't think it's genetic, but they think I believe it's from the environment. Things like pesticides from our fruit and vegetables, the shopping center. Also, water. Some water can be contaminated out there. I was shocked to find out recently the dry cleaner used special sprays that could be toxic. And he was telling a special doctor, an expert, was telling me this as I was wearing the dry cleaning. And I was trying to think of how to get the clothes off, rip it off, throw them out the window. So it's, we have fun with it. But there's a lot out there that we could really kind of take a stand right to your legislators. There's something called paraquat, which is poison, and it's banned in China, but not in the U.S., which is really troubling. So that's very important. And finally, not to get too far into it, last December was the first time in U.S. history. So we're speaking right now during history, where the United States House of Representatives had been brought and passed the national plan to end Parkinson's disease, the first legislature ever in history. Now it's moving to the Senate, so I recommend and hope that you both and your audience will reach out to your senators. I'm in Florida, so both senators have already signed on. I actually did a podcast and interviewed United States Senator Rick Scott a month ago on the plan. It was an honor to speak to a U.S. Senator. But the nice thing is, with all this crazy climate of politics which everyone fights, this is bipartisan and there's really no fight because we all want to end this disease. So it's very nice to have something we can all bring us together. And I just urge everyone out there to reach out to senators because now it could be part of history. So if we spoke a year or two, hopefully it'll pass. I wouldn't be able to say that. So it's really incredible at this time right now.
Love that.
Awesome. It's good to see that movement in politics, even though there are political gridlocks.
Yeah.
At least we know that this is an important cause that needs to be addressed. I know growing up, I was in high school, so I got to see my mom struggle dealing with my grandma and also my family. Do you have any tips for people who are caretaking for somebody with Parkinson's? And not only for caretaking the individual, but also how do you keep yourself grounded to be able to be that caretaker?
Yeah, that's important. I always say, which I don't follow, you always take care of your own health first or you'll be no good to your loved one. As a caretaker and an advocate today, I don't do that. And the reason is my mother only really felt safe when I was around. I wanted her to feel comfortable. So I tried my best to kind of be there. With the late onset dementia, it brings hallucination, delusion. So again, as you know, unfortunately, Parkinson's brings things like rigidity. She had it for 15 years, but for the last 6 years, her left arm started becoming rigid. She had trouble using it, but she could still live independently, still live alone, and be independent. The last 4 years changed everything. She went for a special trial in a university which I don't name, and she came home that day and I had to rush over at 4 a.m. because I found her moving the furniture out of her home in fear the Nazis were inside was going to harm her. And that's where the hallucinations and delusions came in. So I found her unfortunately very scared a lot of the time. I had to bring her to the hospital. They saved her life. It was kind of like a client downward spiral after that. But I always knew that when for some reason, I don't know why, but when I was there, she felt safe. Otherwise, we had aides that came in to try and help. And she would always call me several times because she thought they were harming her. And she was in fear. And I take someone who's independent their whole life, and now you put strangers in the house. My goal is that she wouldn't fall, because I knew if she fell, that would be just a third added problem. But she was scared of the people, even though they weren't harming her, because of the delusions and the dementia. So it's like on one thing, it's another, like I was a little nail and hammer. Also, other signs of Parkinson's, as you know, Michael J. Fox, he has more external tremors, so it's uncontrollable movement. And sometimes it's so debilitating, the 5 stages of Parkinson's. After stage 3 or 4, the person can't work anymore. And many times they can't live alone. So it's very debilitating. But different people have different stands as the stages will happen. I think very important is 45 minutes a day for caregivers or for someone diagnosed and slow the progression. So that's very important. And also diet and food. But, eating organic is expensive. There's a lot of things we definitely recommend that are easy, not always. I do think Parkinson's is caused. I don't think it's hereditary or genetic, but I think it's more social environment. My mother lived in a nice home, but she had mold, she had pesticides like termites. Who knows what these sprayed? And like we mentioned earlier, water is contaminated from states, and also the dry cleaning. Just a few, but there are ways to try to slow the progression. I do have in my book I wrote, if you want, I can read just a sentence. The last year of my mother's life, I kept the journal. But I felt alone. I didn't know who to talk to. So I just wrote to myself, and we published the last year of the journal throughout the book, which helps caregivers really know the inside, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I do have to say there's a lot of good from the darkness, too. I have met some incredible people like you two in your audience, those people out there fighting who are still inspiring me. And that's what really kind of brings hope and keeps me fighting. But my mother passed on 1/1/2020. She's only 69. And this is one memory, unfortunately, that I have. December 24th, 2019, the day before Christmas. Mom is resting today. She doesn't wake up much anymore, longer, or even communicate. She's still with us, but not as responsive. And the nurse says we're resting and medicine to help her stay in peace. But I suspect this may be close to her final time with us. As long as she's not in pain, I'm thankful. So as a caregiver or anyone, fighting this, it's not easy. Again, we didn't know this was coming like it did. So all we can do today is keep fighting for those who are still battling, their families, for the memory of all those loved ones we've lost due to this disease, including your family.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
I also want to make sure there are positives, like I said. So I don't want this to turn into an Oprah moment. It's people are like identifying and not. I try to send a positive message. Although my mother can't be here, even we're coming to Mother's Day, which is really probably one of the days of the year for me. We still have to celebrate our, people who are still like my wife. And some days I feel bad because I don't want to celebrate Mother's Day, but my wife's mother is free, so it's tough. But like I said, you got to keep smiling, you got to keep positive, and you got to keep fighting on.
Yeah, definitely. You still got to kind of find the joys of life and carrying that legacy of your mom. And I'm sure she's looking down and enjoying the fight that you're doing, and also getting to celebrate your wife and your kids and all that.
And they're the only reasons I'm even here, to be honest, because during caregiving, I went through depression, stress, even a moment of happiness, but then crushed again with sadness. So you go through all these, and luckily I have my wife and children who are incredible support, and there's a whole chapter in the book on that. You have to have some support, and if you don't, please reach out to me or to Manny, Sharon, or someone out there, because you're never alone. But the problem is, I felt alone. I didn't know there were all these resources. So that's what TogetherForSharon.com is about. We're not a company or an organization. I don't want to be. I know how to be. But I want it to be just about a website from one son, one voice who lost his best friend, his mother. But we list a lot of great resources free for different organizations you can go to on ground. So it's not just virtual. We have a support group for everyone, anyone like yourself who lost a loved one due to any disease. And that's a great time because we get to talk to other people who went through the same struggle. It's not recorded, it's completely confidential. I also started a section called People with Parkinson's, where a lot of these organizations are great, but I don't know how much the little people, like regular guy or girl, get something. So I put the websites of artists who have Parkinson's and people who do things in the field and lost their careers because of Parkinson's. And I hope that people check their stuff out, go through them. All the money sold and things go directly, then we take nothing. Same thing with the donations link on our page. We are affiliated with the Michael J. Fox Foundation, Parkinson's Foundation, Drive Toward a Cure, and Power Over Parkinson's. but they all created beautiful links in memory of my mother, but they're all directly to the actual foundation. So we don't get a penny and we don't take a penny. I don't do this for money. I just want to end this.
Yeah.
How has the website grown since you first started it?
Yeah, I mean, I love that question because I was shocked to find out a few weeks ago. If you go to the website, it's a secret, but here it is. You go scroll the bottom, there's a little number, it's a counter. It tells you how many people showed up, visited it. When I started the website, I thought we'd have just like the band, like 5 or 6 people, and that would have been fine as long as my mother's out there and she's remembered. And I thought that would be it. Well, I'm excited to say a week or two ago, I think we've had over 35,000 people visit the site. And that's really touching because it means that my mother's not still alive. It means the work we're doing is getting somewhere. And it means meeting incredible, inspiring people like you both and your audience really is a game changer. And like I said, without you both, your audience, I don't think this would be possible because I'm only one person. I can only reach so many people. But if we just one person from your audience, we've now changed the world. And going back a minute, Michael J. Fox released a beautiful movie, the first one about his life in Parkinson's on Apple TV a year ago. And I usually don't read comments on social media. You probably don't do that. You always get somebody who has to ruin it. I mean, even for Parkinson's, it's nuts. But anyway, I happened to read one of the notes about him and his post, and people were actually saying, like, now I'm aware of Parkinson's. And that's really, like, heartfelt and touching because that's what I want to do, just make people aware. They can't do much, then that's fine. But even writing for the senator or calling the senator only takes a minute. Sharing this podcast only takes a second. But they're making such an impact that I'm not sure everybody realizes it. And again, I'm so grateful for all the listeners and the viewers because without all of you, this wouldn't be possible.
Yeah, I mean, it only takes one person really to make a difference. And like you said, if we get one person listening to this episode to, you know, either go to Together for Sharon or find out more on Parkinson's or find out how to be a better caretaker for someone with Parkinson's, then we've done the thing.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
So in terms of getting involved, now there may be people like, I can't do it financially, but is there ways for people to get involved in the movement besides like writing to Congress or whatnot? Are there volunteer places that you know of that people can volunteer their time if they can't donate the money to support?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways out there. My family, we've donated about $16,000 of our own money to Parkinson's awareness, and I just do that to remember my mother. But you know, even if someone donated a quarter, or even a penny, imagine everybody out there to still make a huge dent. So money's not the only thing. I'm trying to figure out how to cut back because doing events. Last month was April, Parkinson's Awareness Month. And we were at the Michael J. Fox Foundation IQ event for the community. We were also at the Parkinson's Foundation Walk, which is a great experience. You go for free and you walk in memory of a loved one. I was at the American Parkinson's Disease Symposium where we had speakers on Parkinson's. And I spent a few $1,000s going to them because we give out the band for free. That's once a month. And I also flew to New York, like I mentioned, the Unity Walk. So there are things in communities that are free. You don't have to travel. Or you can even walk straight virtually. You go on to their event live on your home phone. You walk with the phone in memory of your loved one. It's completely free. And you're a part of it. And then you share that. It's really about awareness. And I'm on every social media. I don't know why or how. So you can find me on everything. You go to Together to Track the tree, and you click on the tree, and it'll show you all my social media. So you can do a lot live, virtually, and the great thing is, Sharon.com, find all the organizations under partnerships and Parkinson. And it'll list the, American Parkinson's Disease Association. Click on all those links like Michael J. Fox, which is based mainly in New York City. And you'll be able to see what events they have, what other things they also offer, and you can definitely become a part of it. So that's the great thing with technology, even though we have the negatives with technology. The positive is anyone can get involved from their own house, their own room. I remember during COVID, even last thing, it was so sad because people were being sick. It shut down all the awareness. But I grew online, and that's when people around the world were all. We had like a podcast once with thousands of people. It was like so small because there's so many people. It was limited, but we were all walking. They have yoga for Parkinson's. They have punching for Parkinson's. They have push-ups. They have everything for Parkinson's, but people just aren't aware. That's what I did in my interviews. I interviewed all different people, 600, to try to bring awareness to what they do. Again, a lot of it's not about me not there anymore. Whoever it was, it's about everybody. I just want to shine a light on all of them too. They can also help change the world.
Thanks. You talked a little bit about your book earlier, but can you give us some background on it?
Yeah, I never wanted a book or even dreamt I'd have one, and this is the book that just came out like 2 weeks ago. And it's available on Sharon.com. Pick books and go right to Amazon. The funny thing is, we even have an audio book. It's not my voice because I'm not excited about it. That sounds like a professional. It sounds like one of those movie trailers. But
Okay.
we have paperback, we have audio book, and we have also hardcover and softcover. But again, I kept a journal, and it was tough. But I wanted it out there in the world for people to learn from it. I did do video and pictures, but I'll never share it. I don't want my mother remembered about Parkinson's like that. But the book came together when I started advocating and wanted to share some of my story. The nice thing is it really covers topics that we just won't have the time to get to. Starts off with the first signs of Parkinson's, symptoms and treatments, my primary caregiving, my support for my wife and children, and there's actually a chapter from my wife. You see the female side, not just the male of her. It also talks about the last week. Sometimes I even say skip that chapter because it's heartbreaking, but it's important. Family and my mother. So this was beautiful. I had an idea. Why not ask all my mother's friends and family to write a little something? So I shared that about my mother, and they even talk about their shock when she found out she had. Also, the aftermath from Mr. Forward, and my favorite chapter is how grateful I am, and that includes both of you, because I wouldn't be able to do this. Some days, I don't know if I've told you, but I'm having major surgery coming up, the third one, for my back. I've got a lot of problems. And no matter what pain I have, I kind of brush it off, like JD says, and I get right back up and keep fighting, because Parkinson to me means more to me in the world, and I want it to end. So no matter what troubles we have, if you're a caregiver, you have to fight with a loved one, and now they need you. Forget it all. This is really a life-changing time. Never want to regret anything. Thankfully, I can tell you I'm proud. I don't regret anything. I don't think we could have done anything. I do joke a little bit and say, the world today with podcasts. Everybody's got one. I wish 20 years ago that I had a podcast, and I wish I had a podcast with my mother for Parkinson, just to talk about her life and all that, because I would have loved the history of my family, which I don't really have. Thankfully, my mother's sister is still with us, so she shared a lot of the background in the book with me. But it's kind of sad to look back and realize that a lot of the memories are clouded due to Parkinson, and that would have been a lot of fun. And I would have had it, like even our talk now, it's going to be memories forever that my children and your children might look back on, and it'll always go on forever. So that's the only regret I wish I had. But again, we didn't have the technology or the audience, but probably not.
Thanks for sharing that. What are some of the early signs of Parkinson's that maybe you noticed or that the literature tells us we should be aware of? Because as you said, it's not just a disease for older people. Young people can face this as well.
Yeah, I mean, my mother was the rigidity that she had in the left arm, like I mentioned. So she had trouble towards the last few years cutting food when we would go out. And that's when I knew that something wasn't right. So I had to, think more about it. But just a quick scenario. I'm not a medical doctor, so I always recommend to see medical doctor. I am a lawyer, so I'm explaining this for you. There are 5 stages of Parkinson's. A lot of people, we realize we have a beginning, a middle, and end of life, and no one wants to talk about the end of life. I think it's a big problem. It's if we don't discuss it, we're going to enter much worse things in the future for those families, like a will or power of attorney or life issues. But there are 5 stages of Parkinson's, and just a quick version. Stage 1 is movement symptoms. It is a movement disorder where you have individual may have tremors, rigidity, and bradykinesia, and that could just affect one side of the body, like my mother had. So you have mild problems with posture, but you can still live independently. Stage 2 is where it becomes a little worse, making daily activities difficult, but you can still be independent. Some other signs are, besides symptoms of movement, are difficulty walking and balancing. And that's a big problem because if you end up falling, breaking something, that's going to be a very, very bad thing. My mother, luckily, I think she fell once, but it wasn't major, and we fired the person supposedly lost. Stage 3 is where we are moving to tougher times, and that's more severe, but the person still is independent. So for the first 3 stages, you can be independent. They might have trouble though with daily activities like eating, bathing, and dressing. Stage 4 is where it gets tough. Independent living is almost impossible, and that's where it became the 4 years before my mother passed. Person might be able to stand, but might need assistance moving. And finally, the last stage could last a long time, which is really tough. For our family, I think it was a whole year, and it's debilitating. The person can go, like my mother, from walking 3 miles to 2 years of a cane, a year of a walker, a wheelchair, and then bedbound for 7 days. But also some of the things that come in stage 5 are the ones that I don't want to talk about. By the way, a lot of times I don't get asked to speak at a lot of Parkinson's events, sadly. They don't want to hear about this. We were told, like I mentioned earlier, you don't die of Parkinson's, you die with it. My mother was a young 69 and had no other medical issues. So it could have been a mixture of all the medicines, but she didn't have any other reason to have left us. So they don't want to hear that. A lot of people don't want to think that it could bring an end to their life. And that's reasonable, but it's also not good if you want awareness out there. And reality, I talk to you
Right.
today very honest, there's nothing to hide. The book comes from my heart. And I like being honest because then you have nothing to regret. But finally, the last stage brings delusions, hallucinations, which is where you can't really comprehend where you are. You might think a loved one or a dog that passes in the room with you. So at times my mother and I would kind of giggle. My laughing, she was laughing because it was cute. I was laughing uncomfortably because I didn't know what to do or what to say. I'm just proud that I never lied to her. She would look at me and say, am I going to be here for her granddaughter, my daughter's wedding one day? She said, I don't know, Mom, but we're going to keep fighting. So I also lost of smell. Poor reasoning. Weight loss was very bad. My mother was on a healthy weight, almost bone thin. It was horrifying. Also, sleep was a big problem. And towards the end, my mother had major problems, which would be a whole show on constipation and stomach, because a lot of the medicines destroy the gut. And that's why it's so important to have healthy eating and habits while you're, for the caregiver and for the individual, fighting this.
It's interesting that you mentioned that they say that you don't die of Parkinson's, because that's the same thing they said about my grandma. She's like, she didn't die because of Parkinson's. And, you always kind of get left thinking, it's like, then what was it? If it wasn't anything else, like her whole body pretty much, deteriorated over the years. She was bedbound for pretty much the last part of her life. So it's good for me to hear that, because I've never gotten closure of that, because I've always wondered, like, how is it possible that she did not pass? Because what else could it have been? There was no other reason for that. She was still young. She was still fairly in good health. So it's good to hear that. Not good to hear it, but the acknowledgement of that it is a common thing that's said about Parkinson's. And I hope we're bringing that awareness to it, at least to some people that may listen to us, because that gets said a lot. You don't die of Parkinson's. You die of something else.
Yeah, I mean, there are individuals who might have that on top of the Parkinson's and of other issues, but again, there are individuals, like in our case, that it's not the same. So that's the problem. Again, why there's no cure because everyone is so different. Why it's so difficult. They as I mentioned earlier, there's no test for Parkinson's. They literally call you into the office for movement specialists. You have to test for other diseases. And if you don't have those, you're going to throw it in a box and say, all right, you got Parkinson's. But that brings problems of misdiagnosis, late diagnosis, and other areas. I leave for the medical field, but need something to be done urgently.
Yeah. Well, I think we're reaching our time here, but I wanted to ask, is there anything else you want our audience to be aware of when it comes to Parkinson's? Like you said, awareness is so important because, again, I feel on the list of things you hear about important diseases or conditions, you never really hear Parkinson's up there in terms of like the top 5, I'd say. So anything that you think would be important for our listeners to hear to just create more awareness?
Yeah, first I want to take a moment to thank both of you and your audience. It means the world to have this time together. Hope to, continue this conversation in the future too. We find a cure. And I don't mind. I hope you don't see me. I don't, I'm going to be outside with you till there's a cure. But my dream isn't that my kids, have to take over together with Sharon. Love it to be out there, but I don't want it to have to keep going. Michael J. Fox Foundation believes they're going to be there. Parkinson's is not, and I love that. That's one of my beliefs. But one message I always leave at the end of any talk is to you and your audience. We love you. We support you. We care a lot about you. You're never alone. I will advocate for you, and together our voices are so much stronger. And I'm just getting started. And I always say that, even though it's been a 4-year journey, because I feel that every time I meet individuals that inspire me, like both of you, and here now your journey with your family, and see those individuals out there still fighting, kind of reactivates and recreates and hits me hard in my dreams that I can't stop. And even from the hospital bed, the second I come to, I'll be right back out there fighting and not going to stop until we find a cure. Again, thank you both, and I just really look forward to the future together without Parkinson's. And please reach out. Anyone listening or Manny and Sean, if you want to share your journey, I do this all completely free by putting your journey and your memory of your family member. We'll never forget, and I'll never allow to forget them. So if you send me an email after, I can send you the little. It's all online. It's really cool. You can do it. You can do it a year from now, a month. Send a picture of you and your loved one. It'll be right up there. You'll never be forgotten. So thank you both.
Definitely will do that. And then just so our listeners know, they can find you at togetherforsharon.com. And then all your socials are there. I was looking at you can get your book from there. You can check out your podcast and everything.
And this is the book. I mean, like I said, I'm not expecting to become a best-selling author or make any money from it. I just want people to know that it's out there because it really could help people, not just Parkinson's, caregivers of any disease. It even talks about a lot of plans and things you can actually action, like a call to action, things you can do, things you can avoid, and things you can change. And I don't mind if someone takes my tougher times and turns it into better times for their families. Because, like I said, as an attorney or just a son or anybody in your life, you plan ahead with a will, power of attorney, end of life planning. It's going to be so much better for your family because if you just wait, they're going to get crushed. And some families are going to fight over nonsense like who gets a couch. It's crazy, but that's what happens. And then the families will speak again. But we can tell people to do it to survive, and it's up to them to take charge. I was very lucky. The last thing is my mother. We didn't know she was passed, but she was very, very planning oriented like me. That's part of why I do it. I mean, I told her something and she agreed, and she let me help her with banking. She let me help. I mean, she didn't. Right now, I'm struggling. My father, who has kidney issues in New York. I'm in Florida, so it's very difficult. Very stubborn. He won't do anything. It's nothing planned. He had a heart attack a week ago. I mean, he's not, I'm sad to say, he might not be around long, but he has done absolutely nothing despite what he's seen with my mother and me or the book. And it's very tough. So I can't, kind of like your hands are handcuffed. You can't help.
Right.
It's absolutely nothing I can do. But everyone here, as long as your family member is when they're of same mind, please, think ahead, work ahead, and hopefully they won't pass and they won't go through what we did. At least those things, like I'm only 46, feel like I'm 109. But we already have a will. I already have a power of attorney. I already have everything done, literally, because I don't want my wife and my children to ever have to go through some even worse things when you're grieving. And you're right there. You don't have time to think about all that. My mother had her funeral paid for, planned, everything's done. And there was like a little weight lifted off, even though the rest of it's still tragic. So these are just some tips. So the book isn't just about our journey, but it's definitely a lot of tips and helpful hints to avoid some of the situations.
Yeah, thanks again for sharing that. I can definitely see the book being something a caregiver can start reading and just be like, I'm going through that right now.
Right.
I feel that moment. Even if they don't know you personally, they'll be like, there was somebody out there that kind of went through that. So thanks again for joining us.
Yes.
You can find him togetherforsharon.com. Thank you for sharing your mom's story with us. And we'll keep Sharon's name out there and going until we find a cure for this.
I appreciate it. And hope your family now. And I don't just share this for. It's not like Shark Tank where the weight is more and then I throw it on. I know what it's about. So I really appreciate you taking the time and the love and send it right back to you and all the audience. Thank you. Please share this, not just for me, but for many. Sean, this is some amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All the best on your surgery too.
I won't write a book on that because people want to hear back pain that you don't have to have surgery. Now we had to have 3, so that book won't.
All right, we'll stick around there just for 1 minute for us. And to our audience, we'll be right back.
Well, we hope you guys have enjoyed the interview that we did with Dr. Ackerman. And we hope that you will go to Together for Sharon, get all the resources you need, get all the research you need. If you or someone in your family, or if you know friends or whoever who is a caregiver or is living with someone with Parkinson's, it is a great resource. We will have links below in the show notes where you can go to the website and to get the book.
Yeah, absolutely. His website is full of great resources, ways to get engaged, stories of people. His podcast is up on there as well. So definitely check it out. Togetherforsharon.com.
And that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Manny and Sean Experience. Thank you so much for joining us. Y'all know where y'all can find us. MASXP23. You want to send us an email, it's mannyandsean@gmail.com. You know how to spell it. It's in the title. But thank you so much for joining us. And as we always say here, do something good for yourself.
And then do something good for somebody else.
Bye, y'all.
Catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.